What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Didn't Ask podcast. As always, I'm your host, Jaimon, and today I will be diving back into the world of Reddit to see what the people asked Reddit and didn't ask me. How is everybody doing? Are you feeling good? Are you feeling fine? I certainly am. Last week, or this week I should say, was yesterday, for me recording this, I started my new job, doing this as a freelancer, which is like the first big gig I have, and it's very excited to be back at the company that I interned at a while back. So I'm looking forward to all the jobs and activities that I'm gonna do with them. It's good to be back at the company. Another thing is that tomorrow is gonna be the day that I'm hopefully, gonna see Black Widow. It's been a long time coming for us Marvel fans that we have seen a Marvel movie. Luckily, in the meantime, we have been enjoying the new Marvel TV shows or series on Disney Plus, and they're all so fucking great. So I'm excited to go back to the cinema and see what the movie is going to be. I really like Florence Pugh, so I love to see what her role is going to be in the MCU going forward, because I have a feeling that we're going to see Florence for a very long time. Enough with that. Let's just jump right into the first question of the Didn't Ask podcast for today. And this one, of course, coming from the Ask Reddit subreddit. And this one was asked by user Sad Hero. And they ask, your username is your actual name now. What happens to you? And if you might have seen already, my username on pretty much every platform that I actually use is ProfD277. It's a name that the start of the name Prof D was given to me during my time as a dancer. I wore glasses all the time, and they thought that I looked like Professor Barabbas. And also, I was quite an educated kid. I'm gonna just say was, so it doesn't sound so narcissistic, I guess. But yeah, so they said I looked like a professor, and I was pretty, educated. So they called me Prof D. Of course, Prof as in professor and D as in Jaimon. So that's fun. And the question is, asked by Sad Hero, what happens to you? I guess not much. It's my name at that point. So it's just going to be my name. They're going to probably call me D, which will resort in many a dick jokes, I presume. But for the most part, I don't really think that there is such a big issue for me. Don't pick a stupid name. That's what I'm saying. Just don't pick an harassing name. Don't pick a name that's sexist. Don't pick a name that's like racist or whatever, and you'll be fine. Just pick a name that's close to your heart when you make a username, and you're probably gonna be fine. Again, my name everywhere is Prof D. So again, if you might have seen already from my link to my tract, it's Prof D. You can find me on Xbox, on PlayStation, whatever. Everything is Prof D. The spelling of the words are sometimes a little bit different, because sometimes there's like a dash or whatever. But for the most part, it's just Prof D everywhere. And yeah, I like the name, and I will keep using it for most platforms. So, Sad Hero, your username is your actual name now. What happens? Well, my username is ProfD277, so people just have to call me Prof or D. And again, I think there's going to be a lot of dick jokes, but we'll take them. Because luckily, my username isn't that bad. Thank you for your question. Moving on to already the second question of today. Asked by user Very Slump. And they ask, what's your go-to comfort food? And this one is very easy. I am a big lover of Italian food, and I'm gonna put Italian foods in quotes because at this point, is it really Italian anymore? I like making pastas, and there are always freezer pizzas in the freezer. So those are like my go-to things where it's just like, oh, I don't have food, or I really don't want to start cooking today. Then I just throw a pizza in there, and there are always multiple pizzas. So I've got my inventory stacked. I like to have my pizzas at the ready because you never know when you want a pizza. Same thing goes with pastas. I always have pasta sauce in my cabinet, in like the in the shelving unit. There's always at least one can or bottle of tomato sauce or pasta sauce, and there's always more than enough pasta to go around. I have rigatoni, I have penne, I have some macaroni, some spaghetti, you name it. It's probably in my closet somewhere. So yeah, that's gonna be probably my answer. I always like making like so what I do 9 out of 10 times when I am home alone or I feel a little ill, I use my, you know, cooking skills, whatever you want to call it, to cook up some rice, some vegetables, and then I scramble an egg and then basically stir everything together. And it's, kind of like a stir fry dish, but not really because I like to keep everything separate so that it also doesn't get too greasy. And that dish I will always eat when, like I said, I don't feel that great and I don't want to eat really, or when I'm home alone and I can just cook for myself. Because that meal, I can get that meal, I can like fucking take that down easily, even if I don't feel that great. So I would say, yeah, it's either Italian food and then specifically pastas and pizza, or it's gonna be the latter where it's like my stir fry dish that isn't stir fry, but still has basically all the ingredients you want from a stir fry. So, very slump. What's your go to comfort food? Again, pizza, pasta, or my stir fry dish? Thank you for your question. Going to the third question of today. What sequel was an embarrassment to the original? And I've seen this question on Reddit a couple of times, but I always skipped over it because I didn't really know any of the movies, there wasn't one movie that jumped into my mind. But last week I watched along with a podcast called We Enjoy, and they watched the movies Speed and Speed 2 Cruise Control. And what the issue was with this is that Speed 1, starring Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock, is an absolutely fantastic movie. It's so good. And, even years after the movie came out, because I believe it came out in like the early 90s, I think, somewhere around that time. So it's like 30 years old right now. And it still holds up very well. It's a very intense movie. It has some funny moments, and the relationship that Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock built during the movie is absolutely awesome. It's super cute. It's great. So that movie was absolutely fantastic. But then we have Speed 2 Cruise Control, and it just loses all the magic of the first movie. And it's so sad because, like I said, Speed 1 is such a fun movie and there are so many things happening at once, while also the story is very small. So if you don't know Speed 1 is about a cop on a bomb defusal squad that apprehends a hostage situation, and the person that keeps the people hostage is like an spoiler alert, is an ex-cop that basically feels that he was mistreated by the department and decides to, get some payback. And he does it by rigging a elevator with some explosives and then tries to blow it up and to get, like an amount of money. Keanu Reeves and his partner, you know, come in, defuse the bomb, get all the people out of the elevator, and everything is fine. They go up to the bomber, and the guy basically blows himself up. At least that's what we think. In actuality, he actually got away and now has even more of an issue with everybody involved. So he tries to get revenge. And the revenge he takes by rigging a bus with explosives and basically, sending these people basically to their deaths. And what the interesting point is that the bomb activates when the bus hits, I think it's 50 miles an hour, but they cannot go lower than 50 miles an hour because then the bomb blows. And then we have this whole issue with Keanu Reeves trying to get all the people off the bus and, making sure that the bus doesn't explode and you name it. In Speed 2, Keanu Reeves didn't want to come back, so we have a new lead character, and he's an okay actor, I would say. I'm not gonna say that Keanu Reeves is the greatest actor, but I feel like the role that Keanu played in the first movie fit Keanu Reeves very well and made the movie very good. And again, the chemistry that he has with Sandra Bullock is absolutely great. In the second movie, you lose a lot of the character development that, for one, Keanu has, because Keanu isn't there and they're just painting him out like he's an asshole, which is very stupid. And also, the character that Sandra Bullock plays is all of a sudden like very annoying and just very incapable of doing anything. The biggest example here is that in Speed 1, Sandra Bullock mentions that, I think her name is Annie in the movie, she mentions that, she got caught with too many speeding tickets and therefore she lost her driver's license. That is an okay thing for me to understand, right? But in the second movie, she has to, the movie starts with her taking a driver's test and she's just totally unable to drive. And that's something that's super weird, especially after seeing the first movie where she drives a bus with 60 miles an hour over the fucking highway perfectly fine, no issues whatsoever, and all of a sudden she is not able to drive a normal car, to just drive normally. Like, I get the speeding part, like, oh, it's funny, she can only speed right now, blah 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 blah. But like, she's just totally incapable of driving. She doesn't look in her window. She doesn't, out of the window. She doesn't look in her mirrors. You name it. What happened? How the fuck did you go from losing your driver's license because of speeding tickets to driving a bus perfectly with 60 miles an hour over the freeway to not being able to know how to drive a car? And that's just some of the smallest part that bothered me with Speed 2. Just the whole story about Speed 2 Cruise Control is very, uninterested. Because in Speed 1, you're part of this small select group of people that take the city bus from Los Angeles to Long Beach or whatever the fuck, I don't, to Santa Monica maybe, somewhere from like the I don't know, I think they're in Santa Monica, but like, they go from Santa Monica to downtown. Let's say that is basically the thing. So they go from Santa Monica to downtown, and with the city bus, the people that are on the bus, at least you get to know them throughout the movie. They're like, I don't know, 20 people on the bus. It's a very small cast of people. In Speed 2 Cruise Control, you're on a cruise, like a massive cruise liner with hundreds upon hundreds of people on there. And it's just like, why would I care about any of these people? Because I don't get to know them. And then it's also the fact that it's just like, I don't know, what this boat is doing. You know what I mean? It's kind of hard to imagine what this cruise ship, is planned to do, or like what the cruise ship does. And also, we're talking about boats, and especially cruise ships, they don't go very fast. So you can say like, oh, this is speed 2, but like the boat doesn't really go fast. And this is what the guys of We Enjoy mentioned during their conversation about it, is that in the movie they see a boat that's quite far from them, and they say, oh man, it's gonna take a half an hour for that boat to go away. And it's just like, it's gonna take him half an hour, and this is speed? That's not speed, that's fucking slow. I can swim faster than that. You know what I mean? So, coming back to the question asked by user Brian Jacques Ghost, what sequel was an embarrassment to the original? And I'm gonna just have to say Speed 2. Because Speed 1 is such an amazing movie. It's so good. It's very enthralling. It's enticing. It's just such a cool story. And for Speed 2 to come after that amazing story and just totally fall flat is just so sad. And it doesn't have to be that way. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just going to say Brian Shuck Ghost, what sequel was an embarrassment to the original? It has to be Speed 2, because it's an absolutely terrible movie from many points of views. So thank you for your question. Going on to the next question for today, asked by user Contribution Fund 3049, and they ask, what's your favorite smell? And for me, this is a very easy one. I love candles. I love like diffusers and stuff like that. And the go-to smell that I always go to, is vanilla. Vanilla is such a great smell because it's subtle but also kind of sweet. And you have vanilla in basically anything you look for. You have vanilla candles, you have vanilla ice cream, you have vanilla diffusers, you have everything in the world has vanilla in it. So it's a simple question, Contribution Fan 3049. What's your favorite smell? It is vanilla, because it's just so nice. It's like I said, it's subtle but also kind of sweet, and it's very hard to explain. But to me, it's such a good smell because it feels like one of the most generic ass smells, vanilla, but that's kind of what makes it nice. It's just so generic that you can get it basically anywhere and it's gonna smell so nice. And again, you can also have vanilla ice cream and vanilla yogurt, and everything smells and tastes so good. It's so nice to have vanilla in my life. You know what I'm saying? So, because this is such a short question, or short answer, I should say, I'm gonna look into the comments of this one and see what the people said. And I like this one. Walking into a bakery. Because that's also such a specific smell that you cannot replicate. And I think that that's a very good answer. I see other people also saying vanilla. Welcome to the club, because it's such a nice smell. A recently blown out candle. Ooh, that's an interesting one. Because that's the smell I absolutely hate, especially with some scented candles. Because the smell of scented candles is such a horrible smell when you blow them out. So, yeah. Again, thank you for your question, Contribution Fan 3049. What's your favorite smell? Just have to say vanilla. It may be generic, and it may be the most basic ass smells that is out there, but it's so good. It's so good. Thank you for your question. And going on to the final question of the Ask Reddit for today. And this one comes from user FioMag, and they ask, you are left without internet. What will you do first? And this is a fun one. You always think, at least me, I think about the time, when I wasn't so dependent on the internet. and dependent on being online and having to keep your eye out on your emails and your WhatsApps and your social media and you name it. And what life would be like when we go back to that time, especially when like an EMP pulse goes off and we are absolutely fucked with internet. But the question, of course, in this case of the question is, you are left without internet, what will you do first? And the question is, what is the time? Because if it's the middle of the night, yeah, I'm gonna look at my phone, see that there is no internet, and I'm probably go back to sleep. If it's in the middle of the day, I'll just need to figure something out because, what am I gonna do? Do I have to go to work? Probably not, because most of the things we have to do is online anyways, so it's very little we can do at that point, so no work, so that's nice in a sense. But the other thing that I could do is just play games. For me, there are many things that will not change. I will still continue to play some video games because I am one of those people that has most of their games on disc or on a cartridge, depending on what platform you're talking about. And I can just play them and don't need internet for half these games. So I can just pop in a disc and just play them. And because there is no internet, there are also no updates. So that is a blessing and a curse at the same time, because I will probably be playing the worst version of the game. But then again, I will be playing a version of the game in most cases. Other than that, I will probably read some books, and over the years I've built up quite a nice book collection, so I will be fine for the next couple of days, if not weeks, when we have no internet for a longer time. I also have some magazines and stuff like that, so I feel like those are also things I can read. Then I have many music albums on disc, so I have a lot of music to listen to. I got some Taylor Swift albums, I got a Lady Gaga album, I got some Tori Kelly album, and Jazz Glynn album. So there is for me a lot of things to do even when there is no internet around, because I am very much holden to the past. So I have many things on disc and just physically. I'm not one of these people that has like a Spotify account or whatever, or has how do you call it, like an ebook reader or stuff like that. At least the thing is, I have those things, but I don't really use them. I'm not dependent on them like some people are. So yeah, I will just basically continue my life as far as I can without the internet. And again, it's gonna be nice and quiet. It's going to be kind of nice to just unplug for a bit. So user VioMac, you are left without internet. What will you do first? Again, depending on what moment of the day it is. But for the most part, I will just continue living. I will, play some games, read some books, listen to some music. I can do all of it from the comfort of my own home because, I don't need internet for those things because I have everything pretty much physically. Thank you for your question. And now, going to the Am I the Asshole subreddit to answer the question of user SorryWife09871. Am I the asshole for putting our nanny on the family membership instead of my wife? Some family drama. Let's drink it in. I'm a father of 2 children. Wife and I both work. She works considerably more than I do with less flexibility. She also has a lot of responsibility at her job, where even if it's her time off, if shit goes down, she has to handle it. So a few weeks ago, I took my kids to a local museum that they loved, so I joined for a membership. The membership is good for 4 people. You can add extras, but it costs more. I just did the 4, but instead of adding my wife as the other adult, I added our nanny. 9 out of 10 times it's either me or our nanny taking the kids somewhere, so it just made sense. My wife discovered it after looking on our account because the kids and nanny are going today, so she wanted to confirm the membership was good. It hurt her feelings, and I suppose she chose to take it out on me with anger. She didn't like my answer for why I did it and kept saying it says a lot and that I put our nanny in the mom slot instead of paying the extra $15 for her to be in there too. Am I the asshole? And this is a fun question because normally I would say there is a clear asshole and clear not the asshole. And in this case, I would say there is a little bit of a gray zone because, like the poster is saying, that 9 out of 10 times it's either me or the nanny taking the kids somewhere. So it just made sense. And I can understand that it's just like, yeah, if I or the nanny goes with the kids to the museum, it just makes sense for us to be on that membership. And if you want to go, you can just pay, for the entrance fee because why not? But I also understand the wife in this case, where it's just like, yeah, it's not fun to see that your husband and the nanny are basically slaughtered as parents of these kids. And again, it's hard to see like what the membership looks like because it's a family membership, and I get that. But a family membership sometimes just means 2 adults and 2 kids. Because I went to movies on one of those family tickets. So again, 2 adults, 2 kids. And then I went with my grandpa, my uncle, my cousin, and me. And then you would also slot as 2 adults and 2 kids. But, that's not the case in this, in my case. But yeah, so like I can understand why the wife is a little bit upset about the situation. And a lot of people in the comments, because I read them, are pointing out that $15 isn't that much, so just pay it, especially because it seems like these people have, well-paying jobs. And then again, it's one of those things is like, I kind of need more information in this one. Is the $15 extra, is that like a one-time fee? Is that like a recurring thing? Because if it's a recurring thing, then yeah, I can on one side see that if the entrance to the museum is, let's say, $25 a month, $25 a time, and the wife maybe goes once a month, then yeah, maybe goes once a month, then maybe it's like better to just pay the one-time fee. But on the other hand, I can understand that like if you're making enough money, then what it's going to be like the extra $15 to put your wife on the family membership and then add the nanny as the extra person to be like the adult. So this is a hard question, sorry wife, because on one side I think you're not the asshole. On the other side, I think you could have handled the situation a lot better. And the fact here is that you didn't talk to your wife about that. And I feel like that's why people basically said you were the asshole, because it seems like you didn't, have a conversation with your wife before you did the membership and even after you did the membership. Because it seems like your wife basically found out by calling the museum herself. So in that case, yeah, you are a little bit of the asshole. I think this whole situation could have, gone way better if you would have just talked to your wife about the situation and said like, hey, the kids really like to go to the museum, so they have a membership thing. I thought it was a smart idea to put me on there and the nanny to make sure that the kids basically can go, especially because you as the wife have a very important job that you can get called in for at any time. And with that conversation, you could have then come to the conclusion that, oh, this is a good idea and it saves us a little bit of money that we can use for something else. Or the wife just saying like, hey, to me, it's important to, be recognized as the mom. And the thing is, I feel like I know what the situation here is. I feel like I know what the issue is. The mother got very annoyed when she found out that the nanny was basically put in the mom slot, as they call it. In quotations, mom slot. And I feel like the mother in this situation feels horrible for not being there for her children. Again, we all have mothers, most of us do, I would say. And a mother's instinct is, to be there for her child and to care for that child. So I feel like the mother feels horrible for not being there for her children. And the dad then going basically behind her back and then putting the nanny in the mom slot makes her feel even worse. And I feel like that is mostly the crux of this story. That the mother is very upset that she has to work so much and spends time away from her kids so much, that the only thing that basically solidifies her as the mom kind of gets taken away from her in a sense by putting the nanny in the mom slot. So I feel like that is the issue here, and I feel like that's what makes the original poster the asshole, because he doesn't really think about the feelings of the mother in that sense of the way. And again, he goes behind her back to do this membership thing. Wow. Maybe it would have been smarter to just talk to your wife about that at the time and just be like, okay, are we going to pay $15 extra to put the nanny on there? Or are we going to put me and the nanny on there so that when you want to go, you can just pay for your entrance fee and the kids can just walk in? So coming back to the question asked by user sorrywife09871, am I the asshole for putting our nanny on the family membership instead of my wife? The answer to that question, no, you're not the asshole for putting your nanny on the family membership instead of your wife, but you're the asshole for not talking to your wife about it and then putting your wife in like a bad light where she doesn't quote unquote care and is there for the kids when she needs to be, or for the when the kids need it. So more of the story is, to your question, no, you're not the asshole for putting your nanny on the family membership. You are the asshole for not handling the situation correctly. So thank you for your question. And that has been it for the Didn't Ask podcast for this week. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. And if you do, please leave a rating on Apple Podcasts. And if you do, I will read those out next time. In the meantime, you can find what I'm watching on track.tv, and you can listen to all the old episodes through this way you found this podcast right now, or by going to anchor.fm/didn't-ask-pod. And here is also the place where you can ask personal questions to me that I could answer in this podcast. So that has been it for me. I will see you guys back next week. Goodbye.